Salam in the peace. You got your partner. AAWS1, digga, better known as Pookie Dooley Squad. Y'all know it's about this about the time of year when I start to tell some stories. We're gonna go back to the Christian to Al-Islam series. This is gonna be an episode from there. Instead of me trying to tell all of it, I'm gonna jump around and just tell certain stories until I get to the eventual end, in which you already kind of know already, but I want to show you the torpedoes and stuff like that were involved. This is about a cat named Big Chill, a Crip from out of the IE, how he became a Muslim. Now, mind you, I was not a Muslim at the time that this happened, and he wasn't a Muslim either. I was striving, trying to seek in Islam, and he was full-blown Christian. What happened was one day this brother comes in and strolls into the dorm, new brother, and we all, first they meet with the dorm rep. The dorm rep let them know to get down in the dorm, and then eventually, inshallah, we, any type of brother that got any type of sense, would approach the brother and whatever and let the brother know, hey, my name is Woo, right? So boom, I did that, and me and the brother started talking. I found out he was out of the IE, found out how old he was, and he told me what school he went to, what middle school and in high school. And I said, oh yeah, I said, I had a relative that went to that middle school, man, his name Whoop-de-Whoop. He was like, oh yeah, I know homeboy, he came to the dance with this broad, man, this badass broad. And I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that used to be my bro. You know what I mean? Because she went to the dance with my relative, you know what I mean? Just to blow everybody away. You know what I mean? So, you can imagine being in middle school, get ready to graduate to the 9th grade, and you fall in there with a grown-ass woman, a fine woman too, light-skinned. You understand what I'm saying? I like all women, but, I like them too. Freckles, thick. The one I happened to mistakenly mention her name in the Domino's video. It was her, right? Anyway, this is before I was with her, though. You see what I'm saying? I got with her after that situation. But anyway, because we was partners. Anyway, so me and this brother, we started talking. I found out he was Christian. He was sharp. And let me tell you something about Big Chill. I had love for that brother. That brother was MONTELL. He was the second MONTELL, because MONTELL Williams was out at that time with, I think that was his last name, right? With This Is How We Do It, right? This brother, he was the same height, except for he was a little bit lighter. He was about my complexion, maybe just a teeny bit lighter. Had the thin goatee, straight V'd up, on swole, bald head. That fool could sing. That fool could rap. I was like, damn, Chill. I said, man, we can make some money when we get up out of here, man. That's when I was ignorant, I said, man, you can let me be your manager, because he was the full package. Believe me, and ain't no gayness in me. You know what I'm saying? And I believe in all the prophets. Allah created all of them handsome. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nothing wrong. When you see a brother and he tight, he got a tight fit on and everything. Hey, he handling his business. Ain't no hate, no mind, and ain't no gay thing about it. Too. You know what I'm saying? I want to be straight like that. When brothers see me, they be like, oh, okay, that brother's straight. Alhamdulillah. Sister see you, okay, he's straight. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, there was this brother from the Nation of Islam, right? And I remember we all participated in the Million Man March, that fast for the fast for the Million Man March, right? And that was my first time ever trying to attempt a fast, right? And it was his brother. And I'm just going, he was shaky. What's up? You know what I'm saying? Nation of Islam, that's not considered as Al-Islam. It's not Islam. So I'm saying what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't want to chew your flesh in Islam. You don't want to chew a brother's flesh or a sister's flesh. That's what the book tells you. So according to the book, to me, I'm not chewing the brother's flesh. You know what I'm saying? But he was able to bring brothers into that little function, right? And I was like, man. So, I'm not no Muslim or nothing. So, I learned how to make dua. I made dua, I said, man, inshallah, I could bring somebody, into the fold or whatever, into the deen or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not even a Muslim yet. I'm just seeing what's going on, and I'm peeping what's going on, and I'm going what I'm feeling inside. You see what I'm saying? So me and Big Chill, we start getting cool with each other, right? That dude was funny, man. He made time easy. You know what I mean? When you meet people and you're incarcerated and you meet people that's cool and they funny, alhamdulillah, it makes time a little bit easier. You know what I mean? Because, you know, you got somebody around that's clowning all the time, right? So anyway, I find out he's sharp, right? And then he started participating into the Christian card. They had a lot of programs going on at CRC at that time, right? And I found out he was sharp in the Bible. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, he took that time that he was incarcerated, because he'd been incarcerated a couple of times, youngster, big old youngster. And the man was sharp. He knew verses, you know, out of the head and memorized from different chapters of the book. You know, he was sharp. And so we started talking. You see what I'm saying? And I told him, you know, my story coming through Christianity, you know what I'm saying, and how I had got to at that point, right? So then we started sharing things, and I started shooting questions at him, you know, and then he'd be like, okay, wait a minute, you know, and then he'll shoot at me, and then he'll go get his book, right? And then I'd be like, okay, then I'll go get my book. So boom, we would get down like that together. Nothing confrontational. That's Allah up in there. Who's you know, he's Akbar, Akbar. He's gonna write it the way that he want to write it anyway. No matter what happened, he wrote it. Boom. He just give you a choice in it. You know, so you know we ain't gonna go there. Boom. So we started getting sharp with each other. Now there was another cat out of IE, little short, stocky, dark ass brother, right? He had knocked a couple of fools out around the yard, right? And he had shot down a couple of Mexicans, because that's how we had it in our dorm. And our dorm was, you got to beef with your own race or with a different race. Boom, we have a meeting about it. And then boom, you two go in the bathroom. Boom, and you shoot him. And it's head up. It's dangerous in there too. I'm telling you, you hit your head around in there, it's not as dangerous as a cell. That close combat in a cell, woo, that's mean. You see what I'm saying? That's mean, you know? And I'm just going to be real with you. I'm going to fear for my life anyway, because of being in that dwelling, like I explained to y'all on the video, you know what I'm saying? When I was on the, I'm not going to tell you everything. Inshallah, you'll go and watch the video. But anyway, that's how it was in the dorm. You go in there, shoot them up. So homeboy went in there, shot up a couple fools. I heard him running off at the mouth one time. He had to come up and interrupt my conversation, right? So I got at him. I said, well, check this out, partner. I said, if you want to have a rebuttal, we can do that. You want to debate? That's no problem. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll debate you, homie. You know, then how you look at that big chill, you know, yeah, homie, but you know, because they both from out of, you know, IE, right? Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, boom. When I come back this evening, boom, it's on. So we used to have count. So I used to go to the MUSA, because it's not a masjid when you're in prison. Okay? I heard imams giving sisters beef because they was marrying brothers in prison. Because they were saying they can't adhere to the deans of Al-Islam with them being in prison. Now, I can understand that to a certain extent, because you're not with your wife and you're not in dunya with her. You see what I'm saying? You know, but you could have your visits. You know, I don't think they're doing family visiting no more. You know what I'm saying? But you can still see your children. You just won't be able to have that influence, right? But I've heard that. Brothers actually told me that in prison. Man, the imam told the sister, man, don't marry me, man. I'm in prison. I can't fulfill the deeds of the sunnah. Wow. I say this. Upon that being so, because I ain't researched it yet, but I'm just going by my common sense. It take a hell of a sister to ride that. Because I know a brother, and I'm going to tell you about him because he's involved in this series. He was married to a Christian, a Muslim, right? And they had kids. He's a lifer. He was a lifer. So what do you say to that? All right, anyway, boom. I come back, you know what I'm saying? You know me. I come storming down the hallway coming from the Musala. Boom, let me back up. Boom. I get to the Musala. I tell the brothers, I say, yeah, I got a debate. My English Christian want to debate me. He kind of sharp. They was like, okay, cool, don't trip. Let's break out the books, because we had nothing but books up in there. We got books on Christianity. We got books on everything. Boom, so don't trip. And I'm up in there with sheikhs. You know, to me, they were sheikhs, because they got all that time to study with no interference. They knew the Arabic, everything. Boom. They gave me my arsenal, because that's what we do. Because other brothers would come in there and be like, yeah, I got to debate. This fool want to debate. And be like, oh, okay, come on, let's get down. And that helps us stay sharp. And I fell up in there with about 6, 7 books. Jumped on my bunk, waited for count to be over. Count was over. I went over to homeboy's area. I was like, what's happening, man? Let's have this debate. Oh, no, I'm cool. I said, yeah, I know you cool. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know what you're talking about. It don't ever interrupt me again. You know what I'm saying? I had it to where I wasn't even a Muslim. I had it to where when they saw me coming, if anybody was speaking religion, I'm not lying, y'all. It ain't saying that I'm cool and that I'm knowledgeable. Allah made it that way. When I would come through, they would stop talking. I'm serious. And it wasn't like I was going to battle people. I wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? If you happen to hear me talking to somebody, right, and then you want to interject something, okay, cool. Wow, wow. Now I'm going to come at you. Okay, then why? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, then okay, now it's on. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you don't have your arsenal ready. You just got to step back. You see what I'm saying? But that's how I was getting down. Boom, back to me and chill. I started coming in with different books and stuff, and I would share it with him. And he would share with me, right, what he learned, because he would go every Sunday. He would go to he was participating in a whole program, the Christian program. If you, upon you looking on my list, and please, everybody, when you tune in, just go straight to the channel, so then you can get all the new videos. But that picture I took on the yard at CRC, Big Chill took that picture, man. He used to be the cameraman, because, you know, he was hustling. He was hustling pictures. He was doing all kind of stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? And just like I was hustling vocational dry cleaner, right? So I would come in with a book, and I'd be like, ooh, this is kind of deep right here, Chill. I don't think you can handle it, right? And he'd be like, oh, yeah, let me see it. So I let him see the book. He'd check it out. Then he'd be like, and if he's interested, he'd be like, okay, man, let me read it. All right, cool. So we kept doing this for months. We going back and forth. And I remember I had some fresh ass Pumas. You know, I had came in with, and I used to do shoes at the dry cleaner, hit them with that steam and stuff, and I could clean your shoes. I could make your shoes and damn near look brand new. You know what I'm saying? The soles, everything, right? He loved them Pumas, so I gave him them Pumas, right? We worked out a deal or something. I think he bought them or something. I gave them to him, whatever, boom. So anyway, we kept doing that, exchanging the books. So then, I'm speeding the story up, right? So then, I falls in one day. I get the book called The Christian and Muslim Rebuttal. I suggest everybody read it. Muslims, you need to read it first. Christians, you should read it as well. You got a Christian and a Muslim. Both of them got their books. Both of them are knowledgeable. College knowledgeable. They got degrees in theology. They sitting, facing each other, and they discussing both books. Man, I'm telling you, you read that book, well, for me, it just gave me all kind of game. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about theology-wise. I'm talking about the proper understanding. See, because a lot of us don't learn the proper understanding because we see stuff for face value. A lot of stuff are allegorical. A lot of things have hidden meanings that you need to understand to get the full concept of the scripture or the verse in or the ayah in Quran, right? Boom. Until you learn that, until Allah lift that veil off your eyes, you just go see face value. So if it says son of God, astaghfirullah, that's what you're going to think. You know what I mean? But because you don't know that the book has been tampered with and that these people put stuff in there. You know what I'm saying? So they can stay in power and oppress people. And you also have to understand that when these books are written, it's written about also the spirituality, but also what's going on in the region. Okay? And what's going on in the world at that time. You have to take all that into consideration in how they're speaking and what they're talking about. Okay, boom. He said, oh man, let me see that book. I said, okay, I handed it to him. He looked at it, looked at the index, flipped through it. Boop, boop, boop. I took it from him, I said, boy, you can't handle this. It's too much heat. You know what I mean? That's what I told him. Boy, you can't handle this. It's too much heat. He was like, man, let me read it. I said, okay, cool. Boom. Gave him the book. I went and did my thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm laying down, taking a little nap. Next thing you know, I feel somebody bumping me. I look, it's him. I'm like, damn, is there something going on? Because that's the first thing you're going to think. Like, damn. Do the Mexicans got their boots on? Yeah, there's a video out there too on Tube about that. Do the Mexicans got their boots on? Because they got the most numbers in there when I was in there at the time. And they riding with the white boys. The white boys also need protection. The willpower was short. The only time the white boys was going to step is when they got more numbers. Period. Same thing with Mexicans. The only time they're going to step is when they got numbers. And there's one thing I can say about us. When we do got numbers, at least in the environments that I've been in, we don't push on nobody. You see what I'm saying? And in Islam, it's not meant for you to be the aggressor. Now, listen, it's straight in war. You know what I mean? And it's a war tactic that you need to apply. It's better for you to just, you handle your business and okay, you want a phone, bring it to me. So inshallah, you want the malaikas to be there to protect you. The malaikas of war. You see what I'm saying? A lot of times they don't show up because you may not be pure enough. You may not be in the right state. I'm going too far. Boom. I said, man, what you doing waking me up, right? He said, man, I need to rethink about my belief. I said, really? Are you serious or are you just playing with me? He said, no, man, I'm serious. I said, well, okay, let me get up. So I got up. Y'all see me keep messing with this kufi. I'll probably be doing it to the end of this video. Anyway, I got up. You know what I mean? And we started to converse, right? And he was like, man, he said, I don't know what it is. He's like, it's just something about it, man, that just got me interested, man. And it's just, and then I'm looking at my book because he had his Bible while he's reading his book and he's matching the verses. And he's like, man, this book is right. These verses aren't correct, man. They're every time I look in a different book in the Bible and I see a verse, it's got a different interpretation. You know what I mean? And I was like, boom. I said, this is what I learned. How you have to be able to ascertain, how can you ascertain the truth by something that's contradicting itself? And you read in one part to say 10,000, another part to say 1,000. You know what I mean? So, you know, and then, you know, you have to look at the history, the real history of who wrote it, you know, how King James and them got together, you know, doing the council. You know what I'm saying? The ESSEN Council. I mean, no, not the Essence. That's where JESUS.ALLSO was living in that community out in the wilderness. MUSA was involved with that. But anyway, if it's that the Council of Nicaea, that's when King James got in there and mangled it. But it was mangled before that. You know, it was mangled when Constantine got a hold of it. You know, Constantine was a kafir. He worshipped the sun. They got y'all thinking that he was a Christian. His mama was a Christian. Constantine was born a bastard. His daddy was the imperial army dude, the general. You know, and she didn't nobody really know about her. You know what I mean? You know, and Constantine was trained on the under because he was a bastard child. You need to read your history. And you know what? I read that from Christian literature. I done read some dope-ass Christian literature too. I was blessed, right? But anyway, boom. We start talking and everything, right? So next thing you know, he was like, well, I want to go to Juma. I was like, oh, you want to go to Juma? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. Brother Amin was in there. Brother Amin was the clerk. He got him on to go to Juma. But before that, we used to be out on the yard. We had a spot on the yard. We go out there. We lay down our blankets so we could pray. We got our books. We bring our little food out there. And boom, that's what we do. We represent right there. Boom, this is our block. This is our spot. You know, in prison, you see that. Benches over there, White Power over there. Benches over there, La Raza over there. Norteños over there. Sureños over there. Asians over there. You know what I'm saying? Others, they got their spot over there. You know, that's how it work in there. You know what I mean? And it's the truth. The authorities, they don't encourage that. It's the individuals that do that, you know, when they come in, because that's just the way it is, right? Boom. So he started participating with us on the yard. Then he went to Juma. You know what I'm saying? Now, he come from one of his services because he's still practicing Christianity too, because they used to meet on the yard and they used to have a little thing on Sundays where they was out there on the yard, you know, singing their little songs and stuff. I participated in that before when I first got there. And then I got to the point, once I got involved in Islam, I shook all that, cut the perm. You got to watch the other video to see. Anyway, boom, Ramadan was coming up, right? I'm not no Muslim. Chill ain't no Muslim. We both, you know, coming out of Christianity, right? But anyway, he came from a Sunday function. He said, man, check this out. He said, them fools was trying to get me static. I said, who? He said, the ones that got knowledge on the yard, you know, up there in their church. I said, oh, they trying to give you static in their church? Because, you know, you can't hide down in here. It's prison. It's just like a fish being in the bowl. He was like, yeah, man, you know, they trying to give me static because, you know, I'm kicking it with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Just like I told him, I said, man, I'm a grown-ass man. You know what I'm saying? I kick it with whoever I want, when I want. I said, that's right. I said, you already know. Is there a problem? He was like, nah, ain't gonna be no problem. I got them fools. And I was like, yeah, because you already know. Because you already basically up under the fold of the dean of the brothers. because we take that serious. When a brother is striving, and that's, we can get conned a lot, and they send a lot of torpedoes in there. But Allah is Akbar and Akbar, and sometimes he makes you naive from what I learned for you to be protected. And later on, you get mad about it, right? You be like, damn, I should have, boom, boom, boom. It wasn't for you to do that. Allah, who's Akbar and Akbar, wrote that qadr for you to do what you did. You see what I'm saying? You see that in some of my videos, like I may say something, and then I have to think about it. Okay, bam, man. Allah made that happen so you wouldn't be in trouble or something. Anyway, Ramadan was coming up. I said, man, he said, what you gonna do? You gonna fast for Ramadan? I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna fast. I was like, it's my first time. I ain't never did it before. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna fast with you. I was like, you are? He's like, yeah. Boom. Next thing you know, Chill learned his prayers. He learned the Fatiha first, and then he learned the 2 short surahs after that. And but he learned them in English first. You see what I'm saying? Now, when Young Jay taught me, watch the video, you'll see. He told me, he said, man, you may learn it in Arabic first because it sounded like it rhymed. You know what I mean? And that's what happened to me. I learned all mine in Arabic first, and then I went back and started learning English. Anyway, Ramadan come, boom. We fast that month of Ramadan. Then he was like, man, I want to get one of them kufis. I said, don't trip, because, I had the Asian brother, in dry cleaning with me, used to make my kufis. I had all type of different kufis and everything. So I shot him a kufi. Now he on the yard with us. Now he learned their Dan. Now he calling their Dan. Now he about 2 weeks to the house. You know what I mean? Then he like, man, it's time for me to take the Shahada. I said, you gonna take the Shahada? I said, man, I ain't even taking the Shahada yet. He said, you ain't taking it yet? I said, no. I said, man, I don't know. That's serious. And he's like, man, I'm ready to take it. Bam. A few days, it was a Friday. A few days before that, we scheduled him to take his Shahada on the Friday, of course, with the Imam. When the Imam come in, Imam Malameen, may Allah forgive that brother for his sins. May he bless him with the highest point of Jannah al-Firdaus. That brother was cool. He was arrogant because he was so intelligent. And you find that when people that are real, like, super smart, they be kind of arrogant. But I checked him. You see what I'm saying? You know me. Y'all know me. I checked him. I wasn't even a Muslim. I checked him. Me and him became like this. I ended up marrying a sister who, the masjid in L.A., the imam, of course he know him. You know what I mean? Because he's an imam in L.A. too. And then I said, Imam Bilal? And he went, brother Bilal? I said, of course I do. So anyway, boom, that's another thing, right? But may he bless him. But anyway, boom, he took a Shahada. Next thing you know, Chill was getting ready to go home, man. I walked in the R&R, and it's like this. When you locked up and you connected to somebody, sometimes you don't even want to walk up to R&R, man. Because, you don't know if you're going to see him again. 9 times out of 10, you ain't going to see him no more. You know what I mean? But I walked that brother to R&R, man, and stayed there until he was getting ready to go home. Until I could stay as long as enough until, the bell started ringing, then you got to go back, you got to lock it up. And I gave him a hug and everything. Boom, he bounced. He went out as a Muslim. And I saw him. When I had got out, I'm mobbing through IE around by Tyler Mall because I used to live out that way in La Sierra, right? And I saw him in a Blazer, a gray one. But I couldn't get to him because he was on the other side of traffic. And he had bent like by the freeway. And I just couldn't get around over there. But that was him, man. But this is the Christianity, the Al-Islam series about Big Chill, the Crip out of IE that turned into a Muslim. And that's how he turned into the Muslim. So you see, Allah's Akbar, when I made that dua, he had me working with somebody that whole time for all those months. You see what I'm saying? For all those months. And it was the best conversion because he was the tightest on that whole yard as a Christian. And that man left a Muslim. Your partner, Abdel Wahid Rajel Saifuddin, better known as Pookie Dooley Squad. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and do it. Salam and peace. Remain blessed. You and your families.